In today's video, we will learn how to add role-based authorization to our Next.js 13 application. So let's get right into it. Let's get started by opening up this repository in GitHub and cloning it. So I'm gonna click over here and copy the URL and switch to the terminal and paste in git clone and then the repository. Like that. Then I'm gonna open up that repo in VS Code like this. And let's actually quickly check out the GitHub repo one more time. So if we look at the branches we have over here, we have the starting point branch. And how this repo works is that next we want to check out that starting point branch and start working from there. Because what I already did was to set up NextAuth and all the authentication logic in that starting point branch. And that's just to speed things up so we don't have to use time on this video on setting up the NextAuth in the Next.js project. And if you want to learn how to set up the NextAuth for a Next.js 13 project, I have a video about that, so please do check out that on the channel. But now let's check out this one starting point branch in our VS Code. So I'll open up terminal and type in git checkout and then the one starting point branch like this. It looks like we are on it. That's great. So next I will run yarn install like this, and then let's just fire up the application and see how it works. The dev server is running and I'll open up the localhost 3000 and looks like we have a login button or sign in button and a text not signed in. So let's click the sign in and sign in with GitHub. Okay, so one thing we forgot to do was to add environment variables to our application. So I'll switch back to the VS Code and let's create a new file to the root of the directory called .env.local like this. And inside of this file, we want to define 4 environment variables. First is the GitHub secret, then GitHub ID, NextAuth secret, and NextAuth URL. And these are all required for us in order to authenticate with GitHub. So let's add the GitHub secret and GitHub ID. And how we can do that is to go to the GitHub and open up developer settings page. So you can go to this URL and select the OAuth apps, and we can create new OAuth app. And let's give our application a name like this. Then the homepage URL, which is localhost in our case. Then we don't have to add any description. And for the authorization callback URL, we will use this one over here. Now let's click register. And just like that, our application is created and we get the client ID, and this is the value we want to copy and paste in for the GitHub ID environment variable. Then next, we want to generate a new client secret. Let's click that. And it will generate a secret for us, which is this one over here. So I'll copy that, go to the VS Code and paste it in for the GitHub secret. Okay, so now we have all the GitHub stuff in here. For the NextAuth secret, we can just add some secret for now. So I will just add test. And the NextAuth URL, we can add localhost like this. Let's save it. And now I think our application should work. So let's run the dev server. Okay, and switch to the browser. And let's go to the localhost 3000. Okay, let me make this a bit bigger. So let's click the sign in button, sign in with GitHub. Okay, looks like there is something wrong. Looks like it redirects us to the local host. So I think we need to modify the NextAuth URL to be localhost 3000 like this. So let's save that, switch back to the browser, and I'll go to the localhost 3000 again. And let's click sign in with GitHub. Now it asks if we authorize the OAuth app. Let's authorize. and looks like we are signed in. So we get the user information displayed for us over here. And one thing I want to mention about this authentication is that right now the route handlers are new thing for Next.js 13, but NextAuth doesn't work with them yet. So that is why we have still the pages folder inside of here, and we have in it the API route, auth, and the NextAuth.js file, which handles the authentication. So just a heads up for that. So in the future, I'm sure we will have this auth API route inside of this app folder and inside of the route handlers or something similar. But at the moment, the NextAuth is not supported in the app folder, so that's why we are using it in the pages and API route folder. But next, what we actually want to do is add a couple of more pages to this application so we can test the authorization between those pages. So let's start by going to the app folder, and I'll create a new folder called admin dashboard. And inside of it, I'll create the page, or actually I just copy this page file from here and modify it like this. So we are just printing the text. This is admin dashboard. Then I'll create a new folder inside of the app folder called profile page. And again, I'll just copy this page file inside of it and modify it like this. And it just displays this is the profile page text. So let's see if we go to the browser and to the localhost /admin dashboard like this, we get the text. And then if we test the profile page, we get the correct text over there. Great. But in order to make things a bit easier for us, let's add links to those pages to our layout file. So I'll switch to the VS Code and open up the layout file. And over here, I will add those links. So just give me a second. Like this. So what I did was I imported the link from NextLink and added links for the front page to the admin dashboard and the profile page. So let's see the browser. So we get those links up here. So if we go admin dashboard, profile page, front page, and looks like every link is working, which is great. And again, I just want to say that I wanted to keep this application really simple and just to focus on the authorization parts, so it's easier to understand what is related to the authorization and what is not. So that's why this application is pretty simple, as you can see, but hopefully you will learn better through this example. So now when we go between these pages, we can see that we can access all of them because we are signed in, but if we sign out and go to the pages, well, we can see that we can still access them. So the first step, let's add a check for all of these pages that they are only displayed when we are signed in. And if we are not signed in, we will be prompted to sign in. And how we can do that is actually with Next.js middleware. So I will add a middleware.js file to the same level as the app directory is. So middleware.js. And now let's open the NextAuth documentation regarding this middleware right here. So how we can protect our whole application, so every page will require authentication. Well, all we have to do is add this one line to our middleware. So let's copy that and paste it in to the middleware, save it, and let's switch to the browser. And let's try to access the admin dashboard. And looks like we are prompted with the sign in. So we can't access the admin dashboard because we are not signed in. So let's try the profile page. Same thing. So let's actually sign in and see what happens. So now we are on the profile page. Now we can access the admin page and the front page. But as you might have seen, if we sign out and go to the front page, like this, it will also prompt us for the sign in. And this is actually something we don't want. So let's modify the middleware so that only the admin dashboard and the profile page require us to sign in. So I'll switch back to the VS Code. And let me add one line of code over here and I'll explain it after that. Okay, so what I did was I exported this config variable from this middleware, and inside of that I can define a matcher, which is an array of routes that we want to match this middleware for. So right now this middleware should be only run for the admin dashboard route and the profile page route. So let's see. I'll switch to the browser. I'll go to the localhost 3000. And looks like we get the front page rendered. And now if we click the admin dashboard, we are prompted with sign in. So looks like it's working. So let's sign in. And now we can access the profile page, admin page, and the front page. Okay, so now our admin dashboard and profile page is protected with the sign in. So we need to sign in order to access them. But let's say we wanted to only access or grant access for this admin dashboard for users that have the role admin. So let's see how we can do that next. But before we get into that, let me ask you a quick question. What do the best programmers and engineers have in common? Well, they have a deep understanding of the key concepts behind their work, and the best place to learn them is brilliant.org. With brilliant.org, you can learn computer science and many other topics interactively in bite-sized chunks. Brilliant has thousands of lessons from foundational to advanced math, AI, computer science, data science, and more. Plus, they are adding more lessons every month. I just recently had to brush up my algorithms and data structure skills, and I found the perfect course for that from Brilliant. Their visual and hands-on approach is such an effective and engaging way to learn that it makes the whole process of learning super fun and easy. To try out everything that Brilliant has to offer free for full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/Tuomo or click the link in the description. The first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. So first we need to modify our middleware file, and let's do it so that I'll add the code over here and let's go through it together after that. Okay, so here's what the middleware looks like now. So in order for us to add some authorization for the application, we need to use this with auth from the NextAuth middleware, and we will export it by default. And inside of that, we will define a middleware function and then also some callbacks functions. So let's start with the callbacks actually. We are defining an authorized function, and if this function returns true, it will pass the authorization, and if it returns false, the authorization will fail. So in this case, we are getting the JWT token from the parameters and then just checking that it exists. So if it exists, we know that the user is authenticated, and if not, then we will return false and prompt the user with the sign in. So that will be run first, and if that returns true, then this middleware function will be run. And inside of this, we are checking that if the path name is the admin dashboard, so we can access the path name from the request and next URL. So if the path name is the admin dashboard and the role is something else than admin, then we are just returning a new response saying that, hey, you're not authorized, and we are not going to the actual admin dashboard page. So in this case, we are accessing the role from the token, which can be accessed in the NextAuth variable of the request. And right now, when we are using GitHub, we are actually not getting a role property in the token. So this should fail right now. So let's test it out. So if I save this and switch to the browser and try to access the admin dashboard, let me refresh the page. We are getting the you are not authorized. And that's just because GitHub doesn't return a role parameter. So if we want to modify the token in the application, we can do that. So let's open the NextAuth.js file. And inside of here, we can, for the auth options, define callbacks. And if we want to add a role for the token, just to test this out so that it works, we can do the following, like this. So we are defining a callback called JWT, and we can access the token from the parameters. And right here, we are just setting the role for the token and then returning that token. So when we do it like this, the token inside of the request over here will have the role that we defined in the NextAuth callbacks in this JWT callback. So let's test this out. I will save this, switch to the browser, and let's refresh the page. And actually, I think we need to relog. So let me sign out, sign in with GitHub. Okay, we are signed in. And now if we access the admin dashboard, we can see the text over there. So now we are authorized for it. And now if we go back and let's say that our role would be member, save it. I will sign out, sign in, and try to access the admin dashboard. We can see that it gives the not authorized message. Hopefully this didn't feel too complicated and you got at least some idea on how the authorization and role-based authorization works inside of the Next.js 13 and NextAuth. As said, I hope you got something out of this video, and if you did, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are not already.